In this video, I'm going to share a lesson that will massively change how you create art and how you see the world around you. In fact, I might even go as far as to say that you've probably been thinking about this wrong your entire life. But here's the catch. Something very strange happened last night, and this morning, I woke up under very mysterious circumstances.
What happened? Where am I? I didn't go out last night, so why? What's this?
The definition of Kelvin is the SI base unit of thermodynamic temperature equal in magnitude to the degree Celsius?
Huh? I'm not really sure what that means, but luckily it looks like I've broken that down here in my notes. Okay, so clearly I was touching up on Mr. Kelvin and his scale. Who's Mr. Kelvin? Okay, let me show you.
The Kelvin scale was invented by, you guessed it, a guy named Kelvin. But people just called him Lord Kelvin because he was kind of a big deal in the world of physics and math. So basically, this scale he invented determined the temperature of light and how our eyes perceive it. And here's the general gist. The scale goes from 1000 K all the way up to 10,000 K, K for Kelvin. The warmer the color of the light is, the lower it is on the scale, and the cooler the color of the light, the higher it gets.
If you're still confused, stick with me. At around 1000 to 4000 Kelvin, we have very warm light. Light that you would find in... Hey, how did this get here? It's a button. What do you think happens if I press it?
Whoa, that was cool. So at about 1000 to 4000 Kelvin, we have very warm light. So think about being in front of a cozy fireplace, or watching a beautiful sunset, or being in a relaxing tub surrounded by Roman candles. Hey, where's that remote again? I wonder what the other button does.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have cool light, around 7000 to 10,000 Kelvin. This would give us the lighting conditions in the middle of a snowy day, or maybe at noon when the sky is blue and the sun is at its peak. As you can probably tell, color temperature changes depending on the conditions of your light source, on the weather conditions, and the lighting conditions. Interesting, huh? But what does this have to do with art? Well, everything. Because light has to bounce off of objects first. And then, by reaching our eyes, we can then process that information and see the world around us. It makes shapes and depth and values and color and everything we see around us visible to our eyes. In fact, if we didn't have light, our world would look like this. But lucky for us, our eyes can be hacked into perceiving depth and dimension just by light and color temperature alone, if we know how to use it. Where's the light? Oh, that's better. What's that? Warm colors advance, cool colors recede. Depth? Yes, this is true, because our eyes do this weird thing where they will almost always interpret cooler colors as being further away from you and warmer colors as closer to you. In fact, it's such a cool phenomena that artists have been using this hack for centuries.
I use this a lot in my art too. Do you see how the warmer colors pop out at you first? The cool colors sort of sink into the background. This is how powerful color temperature is in creating depth. But here's where everything gets even crazier. What I just showed you were big blocks of color separating a warm foreground from a cool background. But color temperature can actually be used really subtly to build depth within your subject. We're going to do a good old-fashioned sphere so we can focus on the colors without getting hung up on the details. As an object gets closer to a light source, it becomes brighter and less saturated, and as it dips into the shadows, it will get darker and more saturated. So right here, we have the light side of the ball. This is the side that is closest to the light source. Then we have the shadows, including what's known as the core shadow and the halftones. And by the way, if anyone wants a specific video all about values and figuring that out, let me know in the comments below and I can tackle that in another video. In the simplest form, we have the light side, the dark side, and because light is constantly bouncing and ricocheting over different surfaces, light actually bounces back from the table and back up, so you have a little area of reflected light. So this is a quick overview of what the ball looks like in grayscale. Now let me show you what happens when we translate this into color. The areas closest to the light will be paler and more washed out. They will also be warmer in color temperature, whereas as you dip into the shadows, you'll start getting darker, more saturated, and cooler in temperature. This, in fact, is tricking our eyes into perceiving something that is two-dimensional on a page as three-dimensional. Now, if you're listening to all this and your brain is about to explode, don't worry, I get you, it's a lot. It's kind of like the art equivalent of taking the red pill and finally seeing the Matrix. It takes a while to get used to. So how do we actually use all of this? Well, here are some actionable tips so that you could actually hit the ground running on your next painting. Number 1, use color temperature to your advantage by using warm colors to come forward and cool colors to recede in the background. 2, always try to identify your light source before you start painting anything. Your light source is your roadmap to understanding the context of what it is you're actually painting. 3, try to remember that as something gets closer to the light source, which you have so cleverly identified, it will be lighter, more muted, and warmer, and as it moves into the shadows, it will be darker, more saturated, and cooler. We have come a long way, artists, but I feel like there's still something I'm forgetting. Color temperature, depth, Kelvin scale. I remember now! I need to record a video at color temperatures.
Oh, it's cold.
Okay, get out of here. Okay.